one thing I tell my clients and also my podcast, I say treat yourself the way you want to treat others. That's self love, right? Treat yourself the way you want others to treat you, right? That's really when it comes down to self love, and that's how you really promote your best self. Is really finding those ways in the midst of your pain or your sorrows to do your best and being your 100%, even if you feel low. It's not really fake it till you.
Awekenge, this is Mental Matters, hosted by Asekho.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mental Matters. I'm your host, Asekho. And before we dive into today's incredible conversation, I have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy what you hear today, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also helps others discover the valuable insights we share every week. And if you find today's episode particularly inspiring or insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from it. Thank you for your support. It truly means the world to us. Now, let's get back into our conversation.
And you mentioned that you encountered abuse and lack of love in your childhood. Can you elaborate on how these experiences impacted your self-perception and self-love journey?
Yeah, so I came from a very abusive childhood. My mom mentally and emotionally abused me when I was younger. Our relationship has improved a lot over the years. My dad or my sperm donor, he sexually abused me mentally and emotionally as well. Both things combined, I really did lack a sense of identity. I didn't really treat myself right during that whole time. I did abuse alcohol. I was around friends that really wasn't good for me. I just overindulged in things that wasn't healthy. I wasn't really treating myself right, and it was hard for me to pull myself out of that situation. So when it comes down to self love, I didn't do that in the beginning. I didn't really do self love. Self love is just treating yourself right, and when you're in a certain situation, right? And I didn't do that. I didn't promote my healthy mindset. I didn't promote my healthy self. I didn't do the things that I should have done because I didn't know I was in this tornado of a lot of different things at one time. And while I was still in my childhood trying to get older to be where I'm at today. So it was definitely traumatic to say the least when it comes to that. But yeah, I wasn't in the right headspace when it comes to self love. But over the years, I started gaining the wisdom and the mind space to be in there to treat myself better when it comes to those different life events that comes up in the present.
Mm, mm, mm. And from hearing that, in terms of you have been abused by not only by your mother but by initially your biological father, I'm sorry to hear that. And also, trauma really plays a role in how we grow up, in terms of how we, in a way, it revisits us. In a way, I believe that, because it did visit me a couple of times, and it was really hard to face it, in a way, because the reason of that, the fact that I didn't have enough resources to combat it, and I didn't have enough community to say, no, I'm suffering from this. Can you assist? And as you know, as Black people, we there's this big stigma around mental health, of taking care of ourselves. So it is really, your story is very touching, and also you are run away from those positive affirmations when you feel like that, in terms of there's no hope. As much trauma really, I would say, install those negative thoughts, in terms of you will never be enough, you will always not, in a way, not you will not be worthy. No one will love you. So in terms of that, how did you begin to challenge those negative perspectives, and embrace your authentic self?
Yeah, I would think you're right. That when you do go through some type of trauma, it's hard to give yourself that pep talk and that love, right? So I did the exact same thing. I thought that I was worthless. I wanted to drop out of high school and college because that's what my dad told me. He said that you're not going to be much of anything. You're going to drop out of college. You're going to drop out of high school. You're going to have kids before you even reach college if you get to that point. So I really didn't have anyone to speak life into me. My mom said I didn't really know much of anything. So I really came in with, I don't know, I'm stupid. That's kind of how I proceeded throughout high school and some of my beginning years of college. But it wasn't until college where I had no option but to heal because once you in college, mom's hands off you. Everybody that's hands off of you. So I had no option but to heal in college, and that's when it all started growing for me to reach this enlightenment that I have right now. In college, like I said, I was going to drop out. I didn't really think I was smart, but in the moment that I was really down and depressed, I heard a voice, and the voice said that you're doing it. And it just scared me, to be totally honest. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I repeated back to myself, I'm doing it. And that was really the first sign of affirmations, that simply I'm doing it. Life is hard, and I've been through a lot of crazy mess, but I'm doing it. I'm taking one foot in front of the other, and I'm doing it. And when I started hearing that, it kind of went off in my head. It's like, wait a minute, I am doing it. Like, I really am doing it. I'm really fighting against what I thought I believed, but I'm showing myself otherwise. I'm showing myself that not only did I pass high school when individuals didn't think I was passing high school, not only did I got to the fourth year of high school, because college, I graduated my fifth year, but I got to the fourth year of college when no one thought I was going to get here, and I'm childless, and I'm not stupid. I'm actually a B average in high school and college. So I started looking back at my life and finding pieces, like really wanted to find pieces in my life to prove myself that I was a liar, that I am smart, that I am intelligent, that I can do this. It was in that moment where I got so tired of feeding myself the bull crap, right? Feeding myself what others said. And that's really exactly what negative thoughts is. It didn't come from you. Negative thoughts is what somebody else said to you, and then you believed it and you started embodying it. So I had to challenge all those negative things and either come to that premise that it wasn't my own thoughts. I'm just collecting thoughts as I go along based on other individuals that didn't even know me, or if they did know me, they didn't speak life into me. So I started breaking down all my negative self thinking about myself to be my authentic self. Who am I really? Let's get away from my past, and really focus on who I want to be. Let my present be my future, not let my present be my past. So I really wanted to just cultivate a whole lot of resilience because that's what I was doing without even knowing it. Getting up every day. That's proof that I can fight another day. I can wake up another day and be grateful that I have another opportunity. So I started looking at affirmations. I started filling myself up spiritually. I started in the morning time being thankful and full of gratitude. I started slowly changing my perception of how I saw the world, because one thing I tell my clients is not what they tell you, is what you tell yourself. So I started having to embody exactly who I wanted to be. And who I wanted to be wasn't coming from a void or a lack. I wanted to be abundant. I wanted to be full of self acceptance because that was the first start of my journey to healing with self acceptance. Can I come to terms with all these things that happened to me and then change it for my good? And that took a long time to doing that, but I came to the realization from that moment of epiphany, like I am doing this. This thing is hard. To now, 10 plus years later, and I'm like, okay, now that I have the understanding, how can I build upon that? And that's where I'm at now, to the understanding that life is just life and it's going to happen to you, but you can learn from it, you can adapt from it to be your ultimate self.
And something that I just had to write it down, I just had to touch on, whereas you said that it's not what they tell you, it's what you tell yourself. And it is very important per se, because at some point also in my life, I started being positive. I started, as much as I was going through a lot, and I had no choice but to try by any means to find healing, try by any means to find positivity. And someone, as I always regarded myself as a Christian, and being a Christian involves of telling yourself that everything happens for a reason. That's what kept me moving in terms of in every so it ended up at some point of, if I come to a problem or something, someone says something hurtful towards me, I go back and say everything happens for a reason. The reason why this person said this to me, and probably something good will happen, something bad will happen. You never know. You never know the future. So it really intrigued me what you said. Let's say someone is being negative, and as much as sometimes we beat ourselves with words, and whereas we say, as much as people might not say it, but at the same time we say it to ourselves, and saying that I'm not worth it, I won't be nothing. So what advice do you have for that certain person?
Yeah, so well, first, I'm trying to understand where that's coming from. You're not worthy. Who told you not worthy? What in your life shows you that you're not worthy? All my clients that I have spoken to, I can pinpoint or help them pinpoint that that thought, that process that they have it is not coming from themselves. Like I said, that's coming from somebody else. So they're gonna go back and say, "Well, my mom told me this." Okay, well, how did that make you feel? How can you rewrite that? Sometimes individuals that say that to you, they coming from a ugly childhood as well, or some type of traumatic childhood as well. That is what spirals them to come and be negative self talking when it comes to you. So when you feel like I'm not worthy, well, what are you not worthy of? Well, I'm not worthy of relationship. Well, why do you feel that way? What is inside of you that making you believe that? What is that it for you? For me, it was that I didn't have nobody to tell me that I was worthy. For some other individuals, they may not have gotten a lot of hugs, or they may have told them a narrative. That's what negative self thinking as well is a narrative. So, what story are you telling yourself to make you feel that way? And then I also connect with, where do you want to be at? Well, I want to feel worthy. Well, how do you get there then? How do you yourself know that you're worthy? How do you get to that point? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be worthy? Then what are the tools and steps that you can do? You don't have to look externally for those tools and steps. It's always inside of you. If you want to feel worthy, what does it look like for you? Be your authentic self. Maybe worthy for you is picking up a book a day and reading. Maybe you feel worthy that way. Maybe you feel worthy in doing right by your kids. If you wasn't, you don't see them as, if they don't see you as a hero in their eyes. What does that worthy look like for you? Right, and how can you get to that worthy? For me, my worthy is what I'm doing right now, being a mindset coach. I want to feel worthy and me helping individuals, because I know individuals, when they get back to community, the community is us and we can work together. So that's how I can feel worthy, by giving back. And it'll come back full force to me. So, what narrative are you telling yourself when you say you're not worthy, and where do you want to be at so you can feel worthy, or whatever negative self thinking you're looking at? Go to the positive side. If you want to feel, if you feel unworthy, what is the worthy? If you don't feel purposeful, what does it look like for you to be purposeful? So be on the opposite side of that and look and see how you can get to that part. Or there's something that's playing in your head, as a narrative you're playing in your head. How can you rewrite that narrative, and what in your life can you pinpoint to say to prove yourself right in that way? So if you're not worthy, where are some ideas, or what things have you done to make yourself feel that way? I'm sure when you start digging into your background, there are things. It's just not quick as it is when it comes to negative stuff. You can pinpoint a whole lot of negative stuff about us, but when it's time to look back on something that's good for us, it takes a minute. So with my clients, I believe they're deep into those things, because we are our full potential, and just sometimes override about all the negative stuff.
Mm, mm. And definitely, we sometimes we just focus on the external, not really realizing that internally, where sometimes that's where we found healing. That's where we are our best version of ourselves. I really, and also whilst we were talking, as I wrote down, healing can be found internally, not externally, and it really It really resonates what you just said. And sometimes growth can be hard. And sometimes we think that we need those cheerleaders in terms of people will say that, no, you're doing good work, you are growing. And it's worse when you go through hardships, turning hardships into growth, and something that's very difficult. And I feel like that's in terms of, as I would again reference this, as Black people, sometimes growth means something else. It does it, we growth sometimes growth we to us means success in terms of getting that new car, getting that new house, and getting that new job. But when it comes to well-being, we don't consider it in terms of when it comes to growth. It's something that we, in a way, we ignore. So you've experienced many challenges through your life. Can you share a specific instance where you transformed adversity into a stepping stone for growth and empowerment?
Watch for adversity. Yeah. So every day there's adversity in my life. Every single day. What I do generally when it comes to adversity, I maintain a state of calmness and balance. I don't really let too much adversity hinder me. Honestly, I really just see it for what it is, and it's just a learning experience for me. And I see what I have to learn from it, and what I could do to grow from it. So I wear many hats, so it's difficult to pick one right now. But I'm a mom. I'm also a sister. I'm a best friend. I'm a mindset coach. So anything that comes up in my way, I maintain a balance and I see what needs to be done to override it or work through it. So I'm at point A. Say for instance, when it comes to me being a mom, let's take that for instance, because for me, being a mom is an adversity. It's a lot challenging when it comes to being a mom. So when it comes down to my kids, every day I'm looking for ways that I can improve me being a mother. That's one of the adversities with me. I don't take any of my hats that I wear. Easily or just take them as this is who I am. No, I really embody them. So when it comes to my children, every adversity I face in the outside world, that's adversity to me when it comes to my kids because they're being influenced by it. So how can I get through that and make sure they can be their ultimate selves as well, the way I believe or vision them to become in this world. So I look for ways to do that, and I also ground myself with steps in order to get there. Even when it comes to my mindset coaching business, how can I get more clients, or how can I scale, or how can I make the greatest impact? I'll look at ways that I can do that and make them by different steps. I don't try to get myself too overwhelmed with any other adversities that I face. Only thing that's going to do is just hinder me and not really do anything for me when I get overwhelmed. So that's kind of what my I do for my clients. I help them from not feeling overwhelmed. So it's basically just being a calmness and looking at it as an obstacle or a test, if you will. If you study it long enough and you can learn from it, then you can overcome it and transform it to however you want to be. But those are my things. I balance it out. I gain clarity in the situation. I find how I can overdo it and plan out steps for it.
Mm. In terms of facing those challenges, do you have any specific tools or strategies that you incorporate in terms of that?
Yeah, so when it comes down to, I'll say the first step I do is maintaining balance. I meditate. I remove myself from the situation if I can. I meditate. I see how my body responds to the situation. I see what thoughts coming up. I see what my gut instinct is. I do not make rash decisions because for me, that's not my ultimate self making rash decisions. So in that moment of I have to balance, I find that peace within me to really look at it from a factual basis, not emotional base. With anything I do, even within a relationship or anything, I look at it from a factual base, not emotional base, because emotions can really hinder stuff. Because we have a lot of attachments to all our connections. So factually, logically, what can I do to balance myself out? So that's meditation. When I talk about clarity, I see what are the things that need to be sorted out. So Like I said, if it's with a relationship, do I want to be in a relationship? If I want to leave, or how does it look for me to stay in this relationship?
mm,
How can I move about the relationship? How can I be my ultimate self? If it comes down to my adversity and my challenges, what does it look like for me to be my ultimate self? How can I learn from today? I do that on a daily basis. And then when it comes actually to do actionable steps, it is basically listing them out step by step, like I said. So step one, what do you need to do? Step two, what do you need to do? Step three and four, sometimes it's not necessarily in the beginning for me steps, just listing out what I need, and then I categorize them based on importance. Therefore, for me, it feels like I'm actually doing something towards a goal versus me being scatterbrained and actually know what I need to do.
mm. And it's quite sometimes quite difficult to in terms of, as you said, that if you feel into uncomfortable places, you remove yourself. And when it comes to relationships, it can be quite difficult. And not only just relationships that are very toxic. And there's this phrase that I heard from this other podcast that it was a short I was listening to, where he says that we, toxic relationships don't start with a bang. It is start slowly and slowly, slowly and slowly. And after you realize it, that you're already in it, and some people see it at the early stage and say and ignore the signs. And I love the fact that you said you remove yourself. It's something that most people find difficult, and I don't wanna lie, also myself, I once was in that space, and it was quite difficult to remove myself within it. The reason why, the fact that love can be something
The
very,
emotional connection.
yeah, that emotional connection that you spoke about, it can be quite difficult. So I just want to talk about you established rent, rent, relentless phoenix and authored manifest your canvas to guide on their people on their self-love and release it. So it's a resilience journeys. What are some common struggles you see people facing, and how do you help them overcome them?
Yes, so my women's fitness business started because I felt there was a need, and I believe for me the biggest need I feel like is resilience. I feel like because of the emotional connection, it damaged us to keep moving forward, right? And we're like, I don't know where to start over with. I don't know how to begin. I'm just so overwhelmed or drained from last relationship, or I'm just so upset I got fired. I just don't know, right? We get that feeling of being stagnant, right? We don't know how to continue. But resilience, although resilience have a crazy standard to it or a thought process to it is actually for our good, if we use it in the right way and we understand what resilience is. So the biggest part of anything in life is knowing how to adapt to your life challenges, right? And knowing how to move and grow from it. So with anyone, for me personally, I believe is resilience, how to adapt and mold through life challenges so we can be our ultimate self. So for me, yeah, resilience is really a big major one because we don't know how to use it in the right way. For instance, we think that resilience is all about keep moving forward, right? We've hurt ourselves, we got to get up and keep moving forward. Or we feel like resilience is we can't pause and we can't cry, or we just have to be smiling all the time and swallow everything. And for me, that's not the case. Not how we promote a healthy mindset or reach our fullest potential. If we use resilience in the right way, we can not only conquer life of our past, right, but we can also promote what we want in the future by using resilience in a positive way.
And I just want to go back as you wrote manifest your canvas, and also you mentioned on Podmesh that you are a big fan of Maya Angelou, and also I don't want to lie, I am also a big fan because I once bought and still I rise the book. And I don't want to lie, that book, I read it within 20 to 30 minutes because
I'm a woman. Yeah, I love that poem. I do love that poem because that embodies me. Being a phenomenal woman, that really embodies who I am. And I, I, she's interesting. She's really interesting the way she put things together. But that one just simplifies just really who I am. Phenomenal woman. I didn't see in the beginning, now I do, and it's just I know hold a different confidence. Listening to that poem and reading it, it just gives you a different confidence than anything else I read.
definitely, and it really portrays that resilience that we're talking about. And my question directly in terms of, would you say that that book, in a way, Maya Angelou is a Dr. Maya Angelou actually as a whole, mm, influenced you on writing Manifest Your Canvas?
I would say I was a poet before Manufactured Canvas. That's where my art come from, being a poet and a dancer and all that kind of stuff in my younger years. I knew of Maya Angelou way before Manufactured Canvas. Um, I will wish to meet her one day, but she influenced me long before that. I have two other novels that is shelved right now because I'm focusing on different projects. But yeah, I was a poet way before Manifest Canvas. Manifest Canvas is my third novel of just me, with the confidence from Maya Angelou. So it's influenced in a way, but I always knew her and I always had her influencing me.
And my actually and I also I wrote a book in terms of poetry, and whereas I really portray my own struggles as someone who has went to in terms of mental health issues, and through reading different people, including Dr. Maya Angelou, it really, in a way, installed some way of positive thinking in terms of, as much as whereas I told myself, as much as I am struggling through this, but as I've said earlier, everything happens for a reason. And I love quoting Shia, whereas he said that if I know that if I'm not happy, it's not the end. Because really, when you have found peace, you at some point you realize that no, I've accomplished everything and I'm at my happiest, and nothing can hurt me. At some point, we have that feeling of having this thing that nothing will hurt me. So I want to go back when I started with the quote, which is "Purpose is always there. The purpose is you," by David Goggins. It in terms of purpose, whenever purpose is involved, one tends to make that positive impact within people's lives, because in a way they were in this spot and no one was there to help them, and no resources were given to them, no resources were in a way no resources were given to them. So, how does fostering self love and resilience connect in building more fulfilling and purposeful life?
Yeah, so self love, like I said before, is always about promoting your best self, right? It's about how you treat yourself in the mix of your traumatic experiences or in the mix of how you feel about yourself in general, and how can you be happy. So when it comes down to transformative growth, right, and just being your ultimate self and your high vibration, what does it look like for you, right, to be happy, right? And it's not only externally, it's also externally too, right? We can, this is saying that, if you're not beautiful on the inside, you're not beautiful on the outside, right? So externally and internally, how are you promoting your happy self, right? How are you treating others? How are you treating yourself, right? One thing I tell my clients and also my podcast, I say treat yourself the way you want to treat others. That's self love, right? Treat yourself the way you want others to treat you, right? That's really when it comes down to self love, and that's how you really promote your best self. Is really finding those ways in the mix of your pain or your sorrows to do your best and being your 100%. Even if you feel low, it's not really fake it till you make it when it comes to self love. Is that you're doing it, and you're putting that work in to do it. So it's not about I'm faking it to be happy. No, what does it look like for you to be happy right now, right? If you saw yourself 10 years down the line, right? How do you want to get yourself there, right? That is not about faking it. It's actually being in the moment so you can live for the future. Because the future is not here. It's not promised. It's nothing right now, right? And the past is gone. We just change to it because, like I said, emotional connections and all that have you, right? So we only have right now. So you have right now to live in your ultimate self, right? Forget about all the extra stuff. That's what self love is. How can you do right now for yourself to be better?
Mm, mm, mm. And it, as much one thing that I've realized today, I had previously 3 interviews today before you, and one thing that I I am seeing that is common in the conversation is emotional intelligence. And as someone who is trying to better their mental well-being, as someone who is trying to be a better person tomorrow, and something that we all need to equip ourselves with. So that's what I have seen on today's conversation. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate you too.
No problem. Okay, bye. Have a nice day. Bye.